Hey everybody, my name is Luke Lamry and welcome back to another episode of Torch Sports. We have a fantastic episode for you this week as we dive into Rocky Talk, where you can hear a roundtable discussion on our Tennessee Vols football, as well as some NFL hot takes and commentary. Later on, you'll hear from the Orange Zone crew, as our team is fired up and ready to unleash their boldest predictions and fiery opinions on the Vols football team. Thanks so much for tuning in, and don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Torch Sports UTK and TikTok at Torch Sports. But for now, let's head over to our Rocky Talk table, where Jordan Smitherman, Riley Haltom, and Caitlin Gill are ready to break down all things Vols.
Yeah, hi. Can I cancel my flight to Las Vegas on February 9th, 2024? Oh, I can't? There goes thousands of dollars down the drain. Hi, I'm Jay King here with the Sportscast, and today we are going to be talking about my Tennessee Titans. And folks, the forecast is at an all-time low. This loss to Cleveland was absolutely pathetic. All right, it has completely destroyed my confidence for this team in the future. Here were the main struggles on Sunday. First off, let's talk about the passing game, or lack thereof. 94 passing yards, are you kidding me? There were like 2 good catches to DeAndre Hopkins and Chris Moore. Those 2 catches accounted for 87% of all passing yards, only in the first half. It was horrible. And you know what? The run game might have been worse. 26 yards? Are you kidding me? Derrick Henry has turf toe right now. Put him with our offensive line, that is a recipe for a massive injury. Speaking of offensive line, guess what? They were just as bad. Andre Dillard is horrible. He played awful. Myles Garrett had 3.5 sacks on us. Myles Garrett still haunts my nightmares to this day. Offensive play calling, again, was horrible. Tim Kelly might have been an upgrade from Todd Downing, but it seems like we're just going from an F to a D-. I mean, seriously, calling a passing play with like 10 seconds left in the second quarter to just take a sack, no points left in the second quarter, that could have changed the tide of the game. Like, we could have made it a 1-score game right there. But no, we had to call a passing play, and he got sacked. This is just ridiculous. Our defense was all right in the first half, but then just completely crumbled in the second. Like, the secondary made like 1 or 2 good plays to convince you that they were all right, like Sean Murphy-Bunting forced fumble. But, I mean, there were so many drive-killing penalties and just burnt coverages. It has just made me lose my mind. This game was horrible, and if we keep playing like this, we're going to win like 3 to 5 games this season, all right? I'm Jay King. This was a Sportscast, and at least we aren't the Broncos.
Hey everyone, welcome back to this week's segment of Rocky Talk. I'm your host, Jordan Smitherman, along with...
I'm Caitlin Gill.
And I'm Riley Haltom.
And then the NFL is in full swing, and boy, was it filled with everything. There was the Dolphins scoring 70 points for the 4th time in NFL history, while also beating the Broncos by 50. Then there was Zach Wilson and the Jets, who are falling apart following a loss to the Patriots. But also there's the teams who have been disappointing so far, like the Bengals and the Chargers, who each got their first win of the season. However, the biggest storyline may be that Taylor Swift attended the Chiefs game for a special someone, but we'll get to that later. Speaking of the Dolphins, they had to be the most impressive team of the weekend. Mike McDaniel has those boys cooking. Riley, what impresses you the most about this team, or what do you think is making them so good right now?
Yeah, I think the Dolphins, it's less about them being good as it was the Broncos being terrible that last game. Don't get me wrong, the Dolphins are a good team, especially offensively, but the offensive linemen were hitting the second level of the defense on every play. It was ridiculous. The guards are blocking safeties down the field. That can't happen. Vance Joseph should already be out of the door. And if he's not, Sean Payton should be right behind him, because that game was a fireable offense for an NFL coach. You cannot, at this day of age of the NFL, you cannot lose by 50. That's ridiculous. It cannot happen. Backups were in there in the third, and the defense was still getting torched. But for the Dolphins, Devon Achane looks incredible. He looks great as a rookie, looking like a good investment for them in the NFL draft. And Tyreek Hill, he's wide receiver 1, and he has been for a while. I've been on this train since last year, even when Justin Jefferson was cooking. Tyreek Hill is the best receiver in the NFL. I'm standing on that.
All right, maybe Devontae Adams, but
And then since we have the biggest Packer fan here, we have to talk about the impressive 18-point comeback that Jordan Love and crew whipped up against the Saints. They were 2-0 with a big reason being their stout defense. Caitlin, what stands out to you the most about this new-look Packers team?
well, first of all, thank you for that accolade, the best or biggest Packers fan, but I'll take either. This was an impressive game. I mean, a 17-0 comeback doesn't happen often, and that was the biggest fourth quarter comeback in Packers franchise history. And considering the Packers are basically the history of football, it's been a long time. And I was loving what Matt LaFleur had cooking. Speaking of cooking,
Yes.
this is a whole new look offense. I mean, we had our nickel back, Keyshawn Nixon in the running back position. We had Emmanuel Wilson, Patrick Taylor, A.J. Dillon all getting touches on running back position. We had 8 players with receiving targets, and LaFleur was bold. We went for 3 fourth downs, converted 1, but we also got a 2-point conversion. The killer, though, penalties. 90 yards, that's just simply not going to get us by. I mean, we got a saving grace with a missed field goal, but that's not going to get us by. We have to play clean football, especially we're taking on the Lions now. Every play matters. And Packers defense, Rashawn Gary definitely led the way. That Packers D-line is looking scary. 4 sacks this game, and I'm looking for more this week. And biggest factor tonight, Aaron Jones is returning, and Christian Watson is making his 2023 NFL debut. So I am very excited. Romeo Doubs, arguably, I think, is wide receiver 1 on the Packers. But Christian Watson, I've missed him, and I'm really excited. This is going to be such a good divisional game, and there's a lot riding on this one.
Yes, that will be a good game. And then, okay, now to include the biggest storyline of the weekend and the topic that has taken over the internet. Taylor Swift attending the Chiefs game to see Travis Kelce, which is sparking all the rumors. If you guys don't know how this started, Travis Kelce went to Taylor Swift's Eras Tour show in Kansas City in July and prepared a friendship bracelet with his number on it to give to Taylor, but he never saw Taylor at the show. So that's when he turned to his podcast, New Heights, with his brother Jason Kelce to shoot his shot, and that's when it all took off. Travis proposed if he came and saw Taylor rock the stage in Arrowhead, then Taylor should come to Arrowhead and see him rock the stage. Taylor took Travis up on that offer, and she was indeed at Arrowhead on Sunday. As a Swiftie, I love this so much because it's 2 of my favorite things combined, which is Taylor Swift and the NFL, and it's amazing in every way. I'm also just happy for Taylor because she looks happy, and that makes me happy. Do you guys have any thoughts on the new potential couple?
You want to shoot your shot, or you got any opinions?
I'd be lying if I said I was the biggest Taylor Swift fan. I'm not the biggest fan of the music.
It's okay.
But yeah, it's interesting to see a whole new audience being brought to football. I think that's a net positive for everybody. I know the Chiefs sold, 1 billion tickets and 1 billion jerseys,
Travis
the
Kelce,
day of.
400% increase in jersey sales.
Taylor
That's
Swift effect.
Insane.
She's powerful.
Incredible.
Insane.
And I never thought I'd see the day a good majority of the Chiefs' kingdom is Swifties. So I love it for the NFL. It's definitely huge for their brand, and they've been posting it everywhere. I mean, if I had
I love
$1
it.
for every time an announcer mentioned a Taylor Swift song this weekend, I'd be rich.
You know that time Ian Eagle said, Travis Kelce finds a blank space for the touchdown?
Yes.
That was amazing. I
So
love
creative.
it.
So creative.
It's just amazing. Both of my worlds colliding. And now I'm seeing Taylor Swift post instead of Deion Sanders post, and it's just amazing. But we're going to take a quick break from Rocky Talk as we hand it over to Ellie for Maximum Moments, but we'll be right back.
The Vols are 3-1 on the season and ranked 21st by the AP poll as they look toward a night in Neyland. 2 of the Generals' Maxims stood out this past week against UTSA. Let's go over it. Maxim 7, carry the fight to our opponent and keep it there for 60 minutes. From the start of the game, quarterback Joe Milton III set the tone with an 81-yard rushing touchdown on the first play of the game. It is the longest rushing touchdown by a quarterback in Tennessee history. Fun fact, Tennessee first started playing football in 1891. So let's let that sink in. He finished the day with 209 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions. Now the ground offense helped to carry the fight and highlighted Dylan Sampson at running back. He finished the day with 139 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns with a 12.6 yard per carry average. The best by a UT player since Dobb versus Mizzou in 2016 and best by a UT running back since Kamara in 2016. Now, Maxim 5. Ball, Oski, cover, block, cut and slice, pursue, and gang tackle, for this is the winning edge. After the home game against the Roadrunners, the Tennessee defense is now ranked first in the SEC with 16 sacks and first in the SEC in yards per play. The Vols today only allow 4.21 yards per play. Now, the winning edge will need to show itself again this Saturday at 7:30 in the General's house as the Vols host the South Carolina Gamecocks and look to grab their first SEC win of the season. The Vols will need to stop one of the best quarterbacks in the SEC, Spencer Rattler. He has yet to hit his ceiling at the position and is a highly scouted NFL quarterback going into the draft this year. Now, the Gamecocks will be without a starting wide receiver and will for sure play against a 12th man on Rocky Top.
Welcome to Orange Zone. I'm your host, Jackson Schock, alongside Matthew, Colton, and Zach. Let's jump right into it. The Vols seemed to weather the storm of doubters with a 30-point win over UTSA on Saturday. While fans were calling for his removal, Joe Milton reassured Rocky Top that he was the man with an 81-yard rushing touchdown on the first play from scrimmage. The Vols continued that effort, scoring 6 touchdowns, allowing only 2. That being said, guys, what was your biggest takeaway from this last week's game? Matt, let's start with you.
I alluded to it last week on last week's show, and I think the biggest thing was not having enough momentum, not having enough camaraderie within his teammates. We saw in Florida the calling of timeouts when timeouts didn't need to be called. We saw the multiple snaps where he decided to run and he should have passed, or decided to pass when he should have ran. Okay, we saw first play of the game last week. Joe Milton took it upon himself to run, score a touchdown, and got Vols fans hyped. I think in this game, you're now looking at a guy who's got some trust in him from his teammates, from the coaching staff. You got some momentum to move forward. That is so huge in a locker room to now have the camaraderie and the chemistry to go into a big game like South Carolina.
Absolutely. Colton, what do you got?
I think my biggest takeaway was give the ball to Dylan Sampson. First game, he had 4 touchdowns. Then you go into Austin Peay, he gets 3 carries. Florida doesn't touch the ball at all. And then he comes back into this game, scores 2 more touchdowns, 12.6 yards per carry as well. I think this game showed they're going to try and get him involved in the offense going forward even more. And I think with Jalen Wright, Jabari Small, and Dylan Sampson at the helm, we've got one of the best running back tandems in the country.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I think my biggest takeaway has got to be the offense just looked in sync. We looked like we were clicking. The run game was going. The pass game was going for the first half. Kind of slowed down a little bit in the second half with those screens. But I think this was a statement game for Joe Milton. I really think that he went out there, scored that 81-yard rushing touchdown, and just said, I'm the man. I'm the one who's going to lead this team.
You see him do this?
Yeah. Oh, everyone was talking.
Everyone
knows the noise. He knows that everyone's talking. But now it's just, what's he going to do next?
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, what do you guys think is going to be the biggest takeaway from this game? Something that sticks with the Vols after this game, moving forward. What's going to kind of be the momentum heading into South Carolina?
I spoke about it a little bit earlier. It's the looseness he now has. He's a lot more calm. He's a lot more developed. We didn't see a lot of mistakes on the wide receiver screen. He wasn't messing up the little plays. He can throw a 90-yard bomb down the field almost every time he wants to, and for the most part, it's going to be accurate. But we saw the short mistakes, the little mistakes in the Florida game, in the Austin Peay game. I think now he's kind of starting to get some chemistry with the teammates and some trust under himself, so he's not losing trust mentally, and he can continue to go out there and make a play even after 1 or 2 bad ones.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, I think just the way we came into this game is a really reassuring sign going into the next following weeks. You know, it was very easy for us to come in lackadaisical, uninterested. You know, we had a tough game last week, and they came into this game, scored from the very first play of scrimmage, didn't let up the entire time, covered the spread, 41-14 final score. So, I mean, we just killed them, and I think a game like this really helps us going into South Carolina next week in the SEC schedule going forward.
Yep.
So I think this game is just a perfect example of what the offense can be. We haven't seen a lot of it going forward, especially in the first 2 games of the season. The first 3 games of the season. With Florida, our team just looked lackluster. It didn't surprise anyone. And then when UTSA came around, the whole first half, we were just dominating on offense. And I think that that's just a real test of what Tennessee can be going forward into SEC play.
It didn't surprise anybody that they played bad in Florida?
I don't think it, for non-Tennessee fans, I don't think it was a surprise. But for Tennessee fans, I mean, we had a lot of expectation going into this game. And to see us just kind of get almost embarrassed on TV, it was really sad. And for a longtime Tennessee fan, it just brings back old memories of what we used to be. And that's not what we are anymore.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think, that frustration came because people thought that this team was going to go undefeated going into Georgia, but they're not. But that being said, we've got a big USC game coming up, South Carolina. What do you guys think Tennessee needs to do to win this game?
Well, they got to take out the killer that's in Spencer Rattler. I mean, the guy has the utmost confidence of almost anyone in college football. He will throw it on 3rd down and 1. That's how he is. He does not care. He'll go 60-yard bomb, 3rd down and 1. You have to take out the killer and the clutchness that is in Spencer Rattler.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think dominating in the trenches is what we really need to do. Defensive line, offensive line, I think that's where this game's going to be won. The offensive line struggled a little bit against Florida, had a lot of penalties. Defensive line looked great the first 2 weeks. Last week struggled a little bit. And South Carolina's passing offense is so explosive. It's the number one thing that we've got to stop. Guys like Xavier Legette, other huge athletes they have on that team. And I think in order for us to win, we're really going to have to get pressure on him, make sure he doesn't get the ball off quick. And the offensive line has got to limit those penalties, help our running game, give Joe Milton some time. And I think we should take this one.
Absolutely.
I think it's just plain and simple. You got to rattle Rattler. I mean, it's that simple. I mean, once he gets put under pressure like we saw against that UNC game, I mean, he just had a terrible performance. I mean, he was sacked 9 times. Once we can get in there, we can go and sack him. I think the game swings in our favor.
Another thing that has not been talked about enough all season long is not getting stops on 3rd downs.
Yep.
The defense has really done an excellent job on the first 2 downs all season long. Between both sacks and just getting stops, getting it 2nd and 10, 2nd and 12, now 3rd and 15. And then next thing you know, you just got a 20-yard run, 30-yard pass. You have to complete the job and get stops on the 3rd downs.
100%. And our last USC question, who do you think is going to stand out the most, or who do you want to see stand out the most on this game Saturday?
Well, I told you that they are not afraid to throw the ball on any play or on any drive. They will throw it as long and as short as they can or as long as they want. Jalen McCullough, the safety, who is due for a ginormous game, is going to have a huge impact in this game for 2 reasons. One, I told you, they're going to throw the ball. That's all they do. That's what Spencer Rattler does. He's there for the highlights. He's there for the confidence. He's there for the highlight when he goes on Instagram 10 minutes after the game to see who's looking and what his shot looked like. That's the first thing. The second thing, I alluded to it. The 3rd downs, it's huge. You have to be collectively together on the defensive end.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think the Tennessee secondary they're going to have to show up in this game. I mean, Xavier Legette, like I mentioned him before, one of the best wide receivers to start the season in the entire country, leads the SEC in receiving yards. They're going to have to contain him if they want to have a shot. And I think guys like Danico Slaughter, if he comes back this week, maybe he can stay with him. Kamal Haddon, Tamarion McDonald, any of the guys who are on him, whether it's a group of them or if they play man-to-man right on him, I think containing him is going to really make a difference in this game. And I think we have to do that in order to have success.
Zach, who do you think?
So I'm going with the same thing they're going, defense. That's the biggest thing. I think my biggest players are Barron and Beasley. I mean, they're long overdue for just a monster game. You see, Barron has 11 tackles and 4 sacks on the year. Beasley has 29 tackles and 2 sacks on the year.
Monster.
I mean, in that Clemson game, we saw Beasley shoot the gap, and boom, Cade Klubnik was out of the game. I think something like that needs to happen again. And another thing, I think if we just keep Rattler, keep them throwing the ball downfield, we can use our safeties, we can push them back, and I think, Tennessee.
I wouldn't necessarily say you want them to throw the ball downfield. It's been a big issue for the Vols is the defense in the backfield. And Spencer Rattler is as accurate as they come, especially if you've seen the progress between last year and this year. His improvement has been almost better than anyone in the college football. He's not afraid to throw the ball, and if you're Tennessee, it's going to hinge on all the people in the backfield, the safeties like Jalen McCullough, to make the plays and get the defensive stops. And also, if you think 103,000 people in one stadium aren't going to affect Spencer Rattler, I'd call you crazy, right? After last year, you're coming into this game with a ginormous chip on your shoulder. It's revenge time for the Tennessee Volunteers, and Josh Heupel is putting this team together to get ready to go score some touchdowns.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Neyland, one of the loudest stadiums in the SEC, if not the loudest, but we're going to move to our Friday Pick 6. We asked the followers of Torch Sports Instagram to predict the outcome of the 6 best college football games this week. We're going to start with number 22, Florida, visiting Kentucky, and our fans have Florida winning. 68% of them say they're going to win. Matt, who do you think is going to win that game?
This has nothing to do with Florida beating Tennessee, I promise. Kentucky's going to take this one for 2 reasons. One, Kentucky's at home. It's a huge difference. Florida has not played good on the road. Last season, they have not played good on the road. This season, Florida is not a team that shines bright under the lights and under the pressure. One. Second thing is Kentucky's due for a big game. People like to talk about Kentucky, how they are this year, their struggles this year. They were a solid team last year, ranked for a very good portion of the season. At one point in the top 15. They're a very good team. They're a very solid team. Sure, there's a few holes, but this is a team that can upset anybody in college football.
Absolutely. Colton, Florida versus Kentucky. Who do you got?
I like your points there, Matthew, but I'm going to have to go with Florida in this one. I liked Devin Leary coming out of NC State, but he struggled so far against Kentucky. 9 touchdowns, 5 interceptions against 4 pretty lackluster opponents that haven't really had a big game this season. This is by far their biggest game, toughest test so far this season. And I think Florida's pass defense is really going to affect Devin Leary and Kentucky moving the football. And I think Florida pulls out a close one on the road.
There we go. Zach?
I'm going to have to disagree. I think Kentucky's too good of a team this year. In my opinion, they should be ranked. I think they should be one of the 5 SEC teams that's ranked in a row. I think that Devin Leary is due for a big game, minus what happened last game. I think they've always been just a simple, maintaining, good, average team. And I think against Florida, who showed good against Tennessee, but I think that was because it's a rivalry game. I think once they go back, they reset, they go on the road, I don't think they're going to pull it out.
Always seems like they play their best game against Tennessee.
And that's just how it is.
Florida not
Everybody
known
plays
for
their
having
best
the quickest
against
start
us.
this season, aside from against Tennessee. Also, I don't think you should underestimate how loud Kroger Field can get, especially when
That's
they've got a good team coming into town. I think
Blue
Kentucky's
on
gonna
blue,
take that
baby.
one. Our next game, we've got Duke facing I want to say they're number 11. They are number 11, Notre Dame. Who do you guys got?
Look, I got Notre Dame as one of those teams up there to slip into a 3 or 4 spot as college football playoff contenders. They're
Wow.
extremely good on both ends of the football field.
Even with that loss to OSU.
Doesn't matter. Like, here's the thing. I'll talk about LSU in a minute. Notre Dame does everything right. They don't make a lot of mistakes. And the biggest thing in football and in almost every sport is the little things. Do you do the little things right? They don't make a lot of the little mistakes. They don't make a lot of clerical errors. Right? They're very good at making the right reads and making the right plays every time down the field on both the offensive side and the defensive side. Notre Dame, even on the road, give me Notre Dame.
There we go. Notre Dame. Second pick,
I
Colton.
100% agree with you, Matt. I'm high on Notre Dame, and I'm also not buying into the Duke hype just
Agreed.
yet. You know,
Yep.
I mean, they looked good against Clemson, and I know Notre Dame just lost last week to Ohio State, but I just think Notre Dame has better players on both sides of the ball, and I think going into this game, Riley Leonard's going to really have to show up for Duke. I have not been as impressed with him as a lot of other people have. I know he could run the football, but throwing the football, in no game this season has he made me think that he has a great arm and he can lead a team throwing the football against a team like Notre Dame. So I think Notre Dame can get this win pretty easily, to be honest.
There we go, Zach.
I think you guys are looking at my cards here. I have Notre Dame as well. I don't think the Duke Cinderella story is going to keep going after this season or after this game. Notre Dame, in my opinion, should have beat Ohio State. I think that was a nail biter right down at the end. I think Notre Dame is the better team, and I have them as a college football playoff contender.
Wow. Well, 65% of our followers picked Notre Dame. However, I'm going to go with Duke because I think that energy is exciting.
Wow,
Let
really?
alone, we saw them beat Clemson.
Wow.
The energy there, they stormed the field. I think they stormed the field again when they beat Notre Dame.
Wow,
But
okay.
we're going to head over to our next game. We've got number 1 Georgia facing Auburn in Auburn. Who do you guys take?
Oh, stop it. It's Georgia. They're the number 1 team in college football. They will be all the way throughout the year. They are the number 1 team in college football, and it's not even close. They are the most solid team. They have everything on both ends of the football field. That's 1. 2, even though they're on the road, they do not get scared. They do not crack under pressure. That's the kind of team they are. There's not a lot of teams every year you can say are like that. And they might be the only team in college football this year that is like that.
Absolutely. Colton?
I mean, I 100% agree again. I mean, Georgia, they haven't been as dominant as people thought they were. They didn't look great, especially at the start of the game against South Carolina. But Auburn played Texas A&M last weekend, and their passing offense was absolutely terrible. I mean, they played 2 quarterbacks, and neither one of them looked like they could throw the football. So I think with this Georgia defense going up against Auburn, I think it could get pretty ugly, to be honest. I'm having Georgia in a blowout.
Yep.
I'm going to say Georgia. I mean, it's really no brainer. I mean, even if it's at home, all the Hugh Freeze hype, I don't really see this being close. Now, I will say, Georgia has had a problem this year with keeping it close in the first half. They've been trailing a few times.
Absolutely.
So I think maybe, going into the first half, it'll be close, but at the end, it'll just blow them out.
It's the
not
biggest
even going to be
problem.
close.
It's the biggest problem with sports fan bases. Everybody that is in their own fan base is delusional. Everyone in Auburn right now is saying Georgia's going to win. Auburn's going to win. Everyone in Georgia is going to be like, oh, we're going to stomp them. It's the problem with these fan bases. They're so delusional. Go to Milwaukee, delusional. Go to Philly.
Sounds like a
delusional.
subtle shot.
A little bit. We'll see. But this is delusional fan bases or not. The numbers aren't close for a reason. Look at the numbers. Don't look at the numbers. Georgia's going to crush them. It's not even close.
Absolutely. I think Georgia, however, goes into the half down because they have a history of not coming out as hot as they want to be, but Coach Kirby Smart's going to kind of coach them
What's
up.
the fan
I
percentage?
take Georgia. The fan percentage there was 87 in favor of Georgia. So it seems
Should be
pretty
higher.
not our most dominant one, however. We're going to move on to number 13 LSU heading to Oxford to take on number 20 Ole Miss. Matt, who you got?
I'm not a fan of Ole Miss. I'm not a fan of Brian Kelly of LSU. Take it how you want. Brian Kelly is the most overrated coach in college football.
Wow.
He is
There's a quote.
arguably one of the worst coaches in college football. Look at how they started last season. Look at how they started this season. I cannot stand LSU. LSU is an awful football team. They are the most overrated team in college football.
Wow.
And anyone that would say, by the way, that Coach O is not a better coach than Brian Kelly, I'd call you crazy.
I think that would be pretty delusional.
It's debatable.
All right, so
But-
do you have a winner of this game?
Sure. Look, LSU's on the road. They don't do well under pressure. Give me number 20 Ole Miss. And I'm not a fan of Ole Miss either. But Ole Miss, being at home, they get the slight edge in a nail-biter.
Okay, sounds like Matt doesn't want either team to win. Colton, who do you got?
Yeah, I disagree with a lot of what you said there, Matt. But
Disagree all
I'm
you
going to
want.
go with LSU here, but I do think it's going to be a close one. I think so far, both offenses have looked great, but both teams have struggled a little bit on defense. LSU last week gave up 31 points to Arkansas. I don't know, but I think LSU just has way more talent on both sides of the ball. I mean, Jaden Daniels, Malik Neighbors, two great offensive players. Add in Harold Perkins, Mason Smith on the defensive side. I think the talent alone is going to push LSU just a little bit over Ole Miss in this game.
All right, Colton picks LSU. Zach, who you got?
Dang, I was really hoping I'd disagree with Matt on this one, but I'm not. I mean, growing up in Tennessee, there's two things you learn is root for the Vols and root against Lane Kiffin. But I can't for this game because I hate LSU, so I'm going to go the Rebels.
There we go. A lot
What are
of
your
hatred on
thoughts?
this
Do
one.
you think you like Brian Kelly?
I think he's a good coach.
Well, what does he want in his career?
I mean, nothing, but
Nothing.
I mean, listen.
He's won
he
absolutely
had, I mean,
nothing.
a big win against Alabama last year at home. This is
I
his
could get a
first
big win over
season.
Alabama,
Had a
maybe, if I had that team.
Okay, well, I mean, I think he's a decent coach. I think they're going to come in this. I think they're going to win this game.
Not better than Coach.
There we go. You are with our fan vote. Our fan vote had LSU winning by 58%, but we're going to head out to the West Coast as we see number 10 Utah going into Oregon State at number 19. Who do you got?
Again, another extremely overrated team. Oregon State not bought in to Oregon State. I get it. They're ranked number 19. Give me number 10 Utah.
There we go.
I think this game pretty much completely depends on Cam Rising's availability.
absolutely.
I mean, if Cam Rising plays in this game, I think Utah can get the win. Nate Johnson has not been great for Utah. I know they're 4-0. They have big wins over Florida and UCLA, but I just haven't been impressed with him that much. Their passing offense has not been that good. I think if he plays, Utah gets the win, but if he doesn't suit up like he has the first 3 weeks, I think Oregon State gets the win in Corvallis.
Colton with the upset. What you got?
So I think mine's kind of the same way, but I'm actually going to pick with Utah. I think it all depends on Cam Rising. But I do think that their offense has been clicking. They've been playing in big games, decent-sized games, and I think what you saw against Florida, they have the team. They have the team to go out there and win some games. Scrappy young team, but they can win.
Absolutely. There we go. Our fan vote also had Utah at 63%, but we're going to head down back to Knoxville where we are right now. Our fan vote had Tennessee winning 100%. Not biased. Who do you guys have?
I just said it 2 minutes ago. What did you think they were going to write? Look, coming into this, so we talked about this on Monday. We knew we were going to talk about these picks. I didn't know who I was going to pick. I'll tell you the truth. Each day I kind of had a different answer. 5 hours ago, I had a different card that said South Carolina was going to win this game. I changed at the last minute for 2 reasons. One, I looked at the fact that the game is sold out. So you get 103,000 people in one stadium, all wearing black and orange. It is a blackout, by the way. What do they call it?
Blackout.
Blackout.
Dark mode.
Dark mode.
Dark mode.
Okay.
Activated.
Okay. It's going to be rocking in Neyland Stadium. And if you don't think that a chip is on the shoulders of everyone that was on that team last year, including head coach Josh Heupel, who is due for an offensively creative game, look, Josh Heupel all season long has been criticized for the game against Florida, for the game against Austin. I get it. Joe Milton gets a lot of slack too. But Joe Milton has earned every benefit of the doubt. At least that's what people think. I've said my thoughts. I disagree. But with that being said, Josh Heupel has earned every benefit of the doubt. He's going to be the one running circles around South Carolina. Give me Tennessee in a close one.
Yeah, I mean, bias aside, I mean, let's be honest here. Tennessee is a better team than South Carolina. I mean, I think there's a huge gap between both these teams defensively. South Carolina's defense has not been good all year. Tennessee didn't look great defensively against Florida, but I still think they just have way more talent on the defensive end than South Carolina. And I think the atmosphere, Neyland at night, dark mode, everything that you just mentioned, I think is going to make a huge difference. Fans going to be rowdy. Atmosphere is going to be absolutely electric. I think Tennessee gets this one pretty dominating fashion.
Big Orange revenge.
I think exactly. This is a revenge game, and it needs to be played like a revenge game. They put up 63 points against us when we were in the race for a college football playoff appearance. Hendon Hooker goes down in that game. This is revenge. This is for all the Vols fans and the glory that we've been waiting for. In a night stadium, in a night game, dark unis, give me Tennessee scoring 63 or more. I don't even care. I'll be one of the delusional Tennessee fans. They're going to win, and it's going to be dominant. We're going to show Spencer Rattler that he is nowhere close to any conversation. He's an overrated quarterback from OU, and I think that Tennessee proves this game that they are still in the conversation.
Sorry, hold on. Why is he overrated?
What has he done the past couple of years? He did nothing at Oklahoma, and he has done nothing at South Carolina. They had an 8-4 season. One game. That's all he had. Well, Clemson too. But one game he has shown out.
I shouldn't have to give you two reasons, but he beat the Heisman frontrunner last year and arguably the second or third best team in college football in the Tennessee Volunteers. Not to mention his improvement from last season to this season is outrageous. It's almost uncanny. He is one of the best improvements from returning players in college football. Almost better than Caleb Williams if you look at the numbers. Okay, he is a killer. That's the type of gene he has. He's one of those players. Who they played?
Who they played? We saw them against USC and that young team, and they got smoked.
It's honestly like one of those games where it's a one-man wrecking crew. It's a one-man show. That's how he is. He's a killer. He's going to come in whatever town, on the road or at home, and kill you. He will make you pay. He will take you out of those mistakes. That's why he's got a chance to be in this ball game.
Don't even think so. I think Beasley shuts him down by the third quarter.
That's why Tennessee fan bases and every fan bases, including Milwaukee, Philly, and Boston, are biased.
There are the plugs. Well, let's settle this debate. It's clear we got Tennessee. The fans have 100%. But I'm excited to see how everybody does this week. And we appreciate you for watching this week's episode of the Orange Zone on Torch Sports. We're going to hand it over to Jordan for Rocky Talk. For Matthew, Colton, and Zach, I'm Jackson Schock saying so long, and we will see you next week. Hit it, Jordan.
Hey guys, welcome back to Rocky Talk. Let's jump right back in. Switching gears from Taylor Swift, VFL Josh Dobbs got his first win in the NFL in his 6th season, which I think is very well deserved. Riley, what are your thoughts for Josh Dobbs getting his first dub in the NFL?
Yeah, it was definitely well deserved. Dobbs absolutely balled, 17 of 21, 189 yards, 1 touchdown through the air, and then he got 6 carries with 55 yards through the ground. He was carving up one of the best defenses in the NFL, which is crazy. He goes from not having a jersey in the team store to winning them a game almost by himself. He's hitting his reads with minimal talent on that offense. Marquise Brown has been kind of a non-factor. Zach Ertz looks like a corpse out there. And James Conner is about the only real threat that they have outside of Dobbs himself. The O-line's not good. Dak did sell by throwing a dart directly to Kaiser White. It was not pretty at all. And Dak, that interception problem, rearing its head again for him. And just what happened to that Cowboys defense? It out of nowhere just dropped the ball against the team that's supposed to be tanking for Caleb Williams. What happened?
Why do you need Caleb Williams when you have Josh Dobbs?
Yeah, exactly.
But no, seriously, seeing him, I saw a picture of him with his own jersey, and as a Vols fan, like, that was very emotional. I was like, oh, he deserves that so much. He's worked so hard.
It just always makes me feel good seeing another Vol do good in the NFL, especially like Josh Dobbs, who played for the Titans in that last game against the Jaguars, and he deserved that win. And now he finally, and now he finally has that win under his belt, and he's had such a long journey. And now to see it actually happen, I'm so happy for him.
Seems like such a small thing, but it's huge.
Yes. Yes. And then, Caitlin, we got to talk about all of this Jets drama going on. Trevor Siemian coming in, Zach Wilson not playing well, and players like Sauce Gardner and Michael Carter getting mad. What do you think is the problem in New York?
Everything? Is that an option? No, this is horrible. And I'm going to put 5 words to describe the problem. Zach Wilson is not him. I think everyone knows that at this point. We're talking 467 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions in his 3 games this season. 2 things. Number 1, don't want interceptions to be higher than touchdowns. And number 2, how do you not have at least 3 touchdowns? We're not averaging 1 touchdown a game. That's kind of crazy to me. And this was just madness. I think everyone on TV felt it. Sauce Gardner ripping on Wilson, deserved. But then you have Michael Carter yelling at his own running back coach. And if you're yelling at your staff, like, where's the composure here? And Aaron Rodgers touched on that. He's like, y'all need to mature, grow up, stop pointing fingers. But I think we all know where the finger's pointed in this one. And then off the field, you mentioned Trevor Siemian. Colin Kaepernick wrote a letter electing himself to be signed to their practice squad, calling himself an elite quarterback. Bold move. He's really trying to get any opportunity he can. I mean, he's a dog, but I think his time, I think we can all say it is past now.
He hasn't played since when? I can't even remember the time.
No, and at that point, get an NFL.
Just retire.
Yes, and get someone in the draft. Stop worrying about Colin Kaepernick. But, I mean, I think we can all agree it's pretty reasonable. I mean, they went from the promise, especially Garrett Wilson. You have Aaron Rodgers throwing you dimes this season. And now you got Zach Wilson not even hitting your own team. So it's disappointing. I see the frustration 100%.
Yeah, this is like a victory lap for me. I've been anti-Zach Wilson since the day they drafted him. This is a major victory lap for me. I'm so happy to see this happening.
Not Zach Wilson's biggest fan. Understandable.
Okay, and then lastly, we gotta squeeze in a little bit of NBA talk because of the recent news. It's the most recent blockbuster trade in the NBA as Damian Lillard finally gets out of Portland and Giannis gets his wish of another proven star to team up with. What do you think about the new duo Freak Time and the other details of this trade?
Yeah, maybe not so little known fact about me is I am a huge Damian Lillard fan. It's been since he hit that insane shot over the Thunder in the playoffs. That is what made me a Damian Lillard fan, and to see him finally get out of Portland, thank God.
Thank goodness.
We all wanted to see it happen. We wanted Dame to run from the grind, and he finally did. Went to the Bucks, finally got a superstar teammate to team up with, and can finally possibly compete for a ring. I hope he gets it. It's what he's been building up his whole career for. And as a Dame fan, I mean, when I tell you I fell to my knees and just about cried tears of joy when I read the news. That was the mood in my apartment when I read.
Hey, same here. I'm a happy camper right now. My teams are going insane. And speaking, Dame really wants a ring. So does Giannis. There were so many whispers and speculations about, will Giannis stay in Milwaukee? He wants the ring. If he doesn't get it, he could be gone. And now I'm seeing talks about a max extension, 3 years, and I am feeling great. But I would be lying if I was saying I'm not going to miss Drew Holiday. He was a huge factor, not only on our offense, on the three-point line, but on our defense. So I definitely feel like his presence will be felt, his lack thereof. Right. And it also hurts because he said the day before about how bad he wants to be a Buck. He is in his heart, and he wants to be for the rest of his life. But on a positive note, Adrian Griffin, I love how he comes in and he's making big money moves. I like to see that. I'm going Bucks all the way right now. Bucks in 6. And
Calling a shot.
Bucks in 4. We could shoot even bigger.
Okay.
Maybe.
Calling a shot.
And it is no surprise that I'm not alone in that. The Bucks shot from a plus 850 favorite to plus 375. So we are feeling good in the 414.
Oh, yeah. Well, thank you guys for tuning in to this week's segment of Rocky Talk. That's all we have for you today. Now we're going to hand it to Brendan for the outro.
Hey guys, I'm Brendan Green. Thanks for watching this episode of Torch Sports. We'll be back next week with more discussion and analysis of your favorite teams. You can follow us on TikTok at Torch Sports or Torch Sports UTK on Instagram. And don't forget to subscribe to the Volunteer channel on YouTube. Thank you all for tuning in. We hope you have a great weekend. And as always, go Vols!